Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We seem to have a bit of a difference of opinion at the very top of the SNP. After Peter Murrell was arrested, Murray Foote described that as being grotesque. He said the whole thing was grotesque. Of course, at this point, he was just someone who'd effectively been forced to resign from the upper echelons of the SNP. And he said everything that was happening was grotesque, and he said it wasn't right that it was happening, and that it went too far. And now, of course, he's been invited back to become the new Peter Murrell, and he's still saying it's grotesque, presumably because he doesn't want the police turning up at his house and conducting any kind of searches either. Makes you wonder what he's got to hide. But there he is, the new chief executive, saying it's grotesque, and you think, okay, that's fine. However, Humza Yousaf is saying, no, it's not grotesque. So straight away, the chief executive and the leader of the party are at loggerheads. They're one saying it is, one saying it isn't. They can't agree on it. And it's just yet another split in the party over what should we do with Nicola. And of course, the problem is that the police investigation is actually flawed, in that they waited so long before they arrested these people, and then they didn't arrest them all and question them all at the same time. So there was no time to collude and get their stories right, and there was no time to hide information or evidence. It seemed a very weird way of doing it, and certainly one that when it's investigated in years to come, it'll be shown that this was an absolutely flawed, and whether it was deliberately flawed or not is a different matter, but it was an absolutely flawed investigation. So in one way, Murray Foote is right. It is grotesque, but not that it happened, but that it happened so badly. Anyway, we'll take a look at this article, see why these two are at loggerheads, and see why Humza Yousaf is disagreeing with his new chief executive. Oh dear, what a shame. Here goes. Now, what we can say without any clear, doubt at all, is that there is one thing that's rather grotesque in all that, and that is that somehow, and no one knows how, Murray Foote has emerged as the new chief executive. This is a man who was forced to resign because he quoted the wrong figures that Peter Murrell had provided that made him resign. And yet, strangely, Murray Foote has been forgiven for this and has been invited back to do it. As Murray Foote, as a newspaper man, as an ex-editor of the Daily Record, funnily enough, and we're looking at the record here, what does he have on the upper echelons of the party? What does he have in his little drawer of insurance? Are there pictures? Is there photographic evidence of certain things? Does he have documentary evidence of shenanigans, financial or otherwise? Seems to be a lot going on, and it's very strange that this man, Murray Foote, ends up being the chief executive of a party that has already rejected him. Now that is, of course, grotesque. Anyway, Humza Yousaf rejects claim police search of Nicola Sturgeon's house was grotesque. The First Minister did not agree with the assessment of the new SNP Chief Executive, Murray Foote. Humza Yousaf has disagreed with that. So anyway, Murray Foote, a former Daily Record editor, quit as an SNP doctor in March over a row about party membership figures. What do you mean an SNP doctor? I think they mean spin doctor, don't they? I don't think he's got a medical profession to his name. Certainly if he has, I wouldn't want to go and see him. He then wrote a piece that was critical of the police probe into the SNP finances and the way Sturgeon's family home was searched, because of course he is. He doesn't want this investigation to proceed because he knows the dangers of what's going to be found. He's aware of it. I think he knows what's deep at the heart of it. And it makes you wonder if he's in any way implicated, because of course he was deeply invested, deep at the heart of the party there. So perhaps there's things in there that he doesn't want to come out, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm not saying there is, of course. I wouldn't demean to that, but it's possible, and it's a possibility that he doesn't want stuff to come out because he wants to be protected from the police. It's weird, isn't it? Anyway, Foote claimed Operation Branchform had been conducted in an extraordinary manner, a slapdash manner, I'll grant you. Certainly not conducted in the way that most people would want this investigation conducted. He wrote, the use of forensic tents and a whole platoon of plod at the house turned a routine process into a grotesque circus, compounded by the storming of SNP HQ. Not hard enough, I think. He carried on. Police diligently going about their business is one thing. What happened at the FM's home is something else entirely. Foote has since replaced Peter Murrell, Sturgeon's husband, as SNP Chief Executive. Speaking to the Record, the First Minister was asked if he believed the search had been grotesque. And of course he said no. No, he said, that's not the words I would use at all. Columnists, in order to sell column inches, will perhaps have to use language that is hyperbole and sensationalist, in much the same way as First Ministers who are failing at their job and can see electoral defeat in the distance often tell lies, hyperbole and a sensationalist in their job too. Humza. It goes with the territory. Let's not cast the first stone, shall we? He said, I have said to Murray, when it comes to Operation Branch Form, and he understands this perfectly, that we will, as a party, be fully cooperating, as we have done already. Clearly, of course, that is a lie. Sturgeon, Murrell and the former SNP Treasurer Colin Beattie have been arrested and released without charge as part of the ongoing probe. And apparently, and rumours have it, that there will be arrests and charges to follow very, very soon. I'm surprised they haven't happened already, but I suspect that they're definitely on the way. Outgoing Police Scotland Chief Constable Ian Livingston appeared to take a swipe at Foote in a recent interview. He said, if I hadn't been pursuing Operation Branch Form, if we didn't have the detectives investigating the matters that we're now looking at, it would be a grotesque neglect of duty. Not only legally, he said, but of course morally as well. Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Bailey said, this is a very bad start for the SNP's new Chief Executive, who seems to have lost the dressing room already. I would suspect he never actually had the dressing room, having been fired once effectively, although technically resigned, but it was a jump before you push position, to come back again in a more senior position, failing upwards of course again, will have annoyed and antagonised quite a few people. Anyway, she continued, it is no wonder Humza Yousaf wants to distance himself from Murray Foote's shameful attempt to undermine trust in an active police investigation. But those comments clearly didn't stop him from getting a top job. But yes, he wants to get his feet under the table, or at least one of them, Mr. Foote. Anyway, I shall round off there and come up, and we'll round this off and have a little look at the conclusion from what they're saying. I don't think it's particularly good look for either of them. Anyway, here goes. Now, of course, Murray Foote ought to know better. He ought to know before he gets in there not to start antagonising the police while they're in the middle of an investigation. Otherwise, they may just decide to extend the investigation a little bit further and start investigating Murray Foote, and in there I suspect will be a whole new can of worms, many of them. Of course, the last thing he wants is to be investigated, especially if he does indeed have, that file with all the bodies, knowing where they're buried, where all the shenanigans have gone on, where all the dodgy dealings and the shady corruption is. Don't want the police poking around that one, do you, Murray, eh? Hey? Anyway, I just thought it was nice to see that the top echelons of the party aren't united yet. They're still arguing amongst themselves, and it's another division with which we can laugh because they're morons. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, Murray Foote won't be there for too much longer. He'll soon get his marching orders, eh? Bye.